Okay, I have a question for you. As you know, my company across the street from a place called Families Forward, right? This is
Uh,
a place that collects food and stuff and gives it to poor people, right?
yeah, yeah,
Every time our Governor Newsom issues one of these ridiculous edicts, of close downs, lockdowns, and
yeah,
curfews, right?
yeah,
Between 11 and 1, there's a line all the way around the corner with cars picking up groceries, right?
yeah, yeah,
And these cars are way better than mine, right?
yeah,
They're Lexuses, Mercedes, nice Priuses, of
yeah,
course, and all those other ones. Okay, I have a question for you. I understand I'm a bit of a black and white type of guy,
yeah,
but I've always said, we need to help people. I get it. I totally get it. Everybody needs a hand now and then, you know, and I'm not against that. But, as you know, I've worked over my life,
mhm,
usually two jobs at a time. And I have a 401k. My kids have a college fund and everything else. So if I took my 401k and blew it on what I really want, which is my Ford Shelby Cobra, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
then I blew the other half of it on a Ferrari 310, whatever, right? I have no retirement fund. Should I be treated the same as this guy who smokes weed all day and wanted to be a poet and a writer and has no savings?
Yeah.
Should I be treated exactly the same? Both of us are completely
Well,
irresponsible
the
in
thing
my
about
mind.
it, though, the thing
Yeah.
about it is when you choose to retire,
Uh-huh.
you are going to be able to retire probably reasonably comfortably. And
Yes.
by that, I don't know if you're rich,
Yeah.
but you will be able to you won't have anything to worry about. Your bills will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
These people that have the cars, they won't.
Yeah. But
They won't.
what I'm afraid of, and I know this is going to happen, is they're going to look at people like me and go, oh, okay, you have money saved up and everything.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't get as many retirement benefits as this poor person
Well,
who doesn't have a 401k.
that remains to be seen.
See,
That
that
remains
that
to be.
is my fear. It
But
is
but
my
but
fear.
but the problem with that is that's a different thing. And I sound like I'm debating you on this. I'm
Yeah,
not. I agree
yeah,
with everything you say.
yeah,
But the problem with that is that Social Security was set up as a Ponzi scheme.
yeah.
You know,
I know. Yeah,
I mean, and I'm not saying
yeah,
that to make it's true. Like
yeah, and that's
they
why I'm
set it up,
afraid
and
they're going to
people
take
that never,
people.
from the beginning, people that never paid into the system immediately started getting the benefits, and so we're chasing that. So
Yeah,
that's
and also we're doing it now. I told you, my wife's friends came from China. They became
yeah,
Chinese citizens, right?
right, right.
Then they petitioned to get their parents here. Their parents are 65 years old, right?
Hmm.
So when they came here, you're supposed to sign a thing saying you'll support them, they won't abuse the system, blah
Right,
blah blah. You
right.
literally signed that, right?
Like when Vito Corleone came over, he had to have somebody
Exactly.
sponsor him. Yeah,
Exactly. So as soon as they came here, the mother had cancer surgery.
yeah.
They signed them up for Section 8 housing and with all the benefits that old people get, right?
Mm.
They take the Section 8, they turn it around and they rent it because the parents live at their house, right?
Hmm.
So they literally didn't pay a dime in the system and they're collecting. And that's what pisses me off. It
Yeah,
really does.
yeah.
Because, like my mom paid in like forever and my dad paid in forever, right?
Right.
And they paid their dues and they don't really collect from their stuff. Well, my mother does now.
Yeah.
But and these
But even when
people,
you collect, when you get Social Security, it's not that much.
it doesn't matter. I mean, the
Yeah,
Section 8 housing, that's something. They
yeah.
all the medication and the
Yes, but
surgery
why do
for
you
free.
think we're 14 trillion in debt?
Yeah.
I mean that's where this is coming from. See, the way programs were set up are set up in government, whether it's federal, state, or local. You're supposed to, when you propose, debate, pass, and sign a new program into law, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have a revenue stream for it. For example, the national interstate highway system. How do we pay for all this? We're going to put a gas tax on. And that's what they do. So everybody that uses the roads, i.e., uses gas, has to pay for the roads. That's one of the reasons why I hate these fucking free electric charging stations everywhere. You know, we're paying for their charging, and they're not paying gas taxes to pay for the roads.
Mm.
Okay. That's the way it was supposed to. It's supposed to work like everybody thinks. I'm not, the hippies. I'm not paying my income taxes because I don't want to support the war. Well, our military is paid by corporate taxes, taxes on corporations. They pay the national defense budget. That's how it was supposed to set up states, state highway systems, state gasoline tax. That's how you're supposed to. But then somewhere along the line, they came out and said, hey, what if we come up with a program that will get us reelected because people will love us if we do it? Okay, where are we going to get the revenue stream for it? Fuck it. We'll just call the Fed and strong arm them into, it doesn't take arm them into letting us print more money to do it, which then makes us in debt to the Fed, which we are currently. The United States is in debt to the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank is a private bank. It is not a government institution. But we are now in debt to the Federal Reserve to the tune of $14 trillion. It's
and how does the Fed get this money? They float bonds.
yes,
Who buys these bonds?
Easy.
Foreign governments.
Chinese.
That's who buy them. Look how much the Chinese have in bonds. Okay, real quick though. Back to my original thing. These millenniums want their student debt wiped out, right?
Right, of course they do. Yeah.
Okay, because they're taking Russian philosophy or whatever they're taking. I've seen these people who have college degrees and they're working in a department store, right?
Dimwits.
I see this girl. She works in San Clemente here. She works in a gift shop, and she went to the University of Redlands out there. I know it's a shitty college, but it's a college, right?
Right.
Why are you in debt and you're working at a gift store?
Yeah.
So what they want is they want all these debts wiped out, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I set money aside for my kids' college. They didn't need to do that. So what happens to me? Do I get the money also? I mean, why am I being punished for this? It drives me crazy being punished for being fiscally and morally, conservative. It drives me crazy.
You know how I wouldn't have set money aside for my kid.
Yeah.
Let him get its own fucking way.
But the point is, I did, but I'm being punished for it because I did it. And it's like, what? I should be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to take this 80 there and have it wiped off the books.
You should get that money back.
Yeah, it should, but I won't. I will never.
To get their money back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point, is if you took out a student loan, tough shit. You took out a student, and same with parents. I mean, parents take out student loans, and do that. So, I mean, that's just, again, these are your choices that you made. Unfortunately, we live in a world that the only way that a company can ensure that you have a high school education is by making sure you have a college education. Because when you get out of high school, you effectively have a 6th grade education, compared to the past.
Yeah, because when we were in the 5th grade, I remember we were in the 5th grade. You had Mr. D, I had Mrs. Young, right? We knew the states, we knew the capitals, we knew all the presidents, we knew all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We knew most of Europe. That's when we started getting in towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I still can name, I think, all the 50 states. I can name most of the capitals, but not anymore because it's been like 40 years.
It's just because why would you need to? You know?
I know. But I still like to think that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, but I know where all the states are, obviously. You talk to these kids now, they just don't.
They don't know.
No clue.
I saw on the street thing. They went on a college campus. It wasn't it wasn't like a comedy gag. It was I think Campus Reform did it, and which is like a political website for colleges and stuff. And they went to and they asked these college students who bombed Pearl Harbor, and they're like, America, the South.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know who bombed Pearl fucking Harbor.
Yeah.
And
it's like that Animal House gig I always make fun of. It's like when John Belushi says, the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And they go, let them go. And that was a joke, like in 1978, right? Now it's like, it's reality.
Right. That's why these kids today are so into Marxism, because they don't know anything about the Soviet Union. They don't know about the Iron Curtain and the Iron Bloc, the communist bloc nations. They don't know that these countries, suffered. They they don't care. They don't care because college students today and kids in general today are so fucking spoiled. They have everything. Very few kids, like even the poorest among us, kids are walking around with a fucking iPhone, and they have a nice bicycle, and they have fucking 2 TVs at their house. They get all the food that they need from their EBT cards. We have the most affluent poor on earth, and that's why kids don't. Suffering is good. Suffering is good for you. Suffering is struggle. It sucks while you're going through it.
Yeah,
but
I had to suffer in Florida.
Yeah.
It was really bad. It was like, okay, I have to buy spaghetti for a week. That's what I'm gonna eat for a week. It's like, oh, that sucks.
Cody's college roommate, he would cook a pot of rice, and we only had like 2 pots in the house, and he would cook a pot of rice, and he would just eat from that all week, and we hated him because he was awful. We'd put like Ivory dishwashing soap into it, and my other roommate would spit into it. We hated it. And John would come in after riding his bike all day, and then just go grab a spoon and eat it out of the fucking pot. And this soap, and he never noticed it, But again, I lived on ramen. When we were kids, I picked up 3 girls the other day, and they were talking about. I was bringing them to dinner, and they were talking about how they had a 6:30 reservation. I never fucking went to a restaurant that required a reservation when I was in college. What are you kidding me? I never
reservation.
$1 cocktail.
Yeah.
We went to McCarthy's, which was over in by Brigham and Women's Hospital, and they had 25-cent drafts.
Yeah.
You could get fucked up for like $2.
Yeah.
And it was friggin' pretty good.
And free popcorn. Always the free popcorn.
Alcoholics bar. It was an alcoholics bar. It was gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what kid. But today's college kids, again, we just, as a nation, you have more than your parents ever had, at the end of your life. And you live in a nicer house, you drive nicer cars, and you do have savings that your parents didn't have. And so every generation gets that. But so nobody's suffering right now. That's why they have to make up shit to suffer about. Like systemic racism. What are you talking about? Oh, people look at me cross-eyed because of my hairstyle.
No, people laugh at you because of your hairstyle, but they don't hate you because of your hairstyle.
Yeah, we used to laugh at each other at school all the fucking time.
Yeah, it's like, what an idiot.
No,
I don't know.
Complaining about. They're not problems.
Yeah,
they're not problems. We're not suffering.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyways, I got to go put in gas real quick. I'll talk to you. So, you talked about suffering, right? And I always hear these people, when I see these drug addicts on the street, and it's horrible, we need to help them. I go, fine, round them up, put them in a home, and stop having them do drugs. And then they go, well, we can't do that. That's against their civil liberties. Then it's not my problem.
Right.
Okay. To get them off the street, you need to get them to stop doing drugs. Okay. And the mental patients, you need to put them in a home. You can't have these people out on the street.
Yes, they can't take care.
Yeah, and that's how you take care of this homeless problem. It's not by giving them shelter, because it doesn't matter if they're drugs or nuts. The shelter isn't going to help them. In whatever government program you give them, it isn't going to help them. They're going to take the EBT card and sell it for drugs. That's the whole point.
Right.
So
I had 2 people do it in my car.
Oh, really?
Buy drugs with EBT cards. They had 3 of them. Yeah.
And that's how you fix it. You got to get them to stop doing drugs and get the mental people off the streets, put them into homes. It's against the civil liberties. Okay. And if they don't want to, fine, give them nothing. It's very simple.
Oh, well, again, I hate this because I sound like I'm debating you, because I agree 100% with everything you say again. But I had this girl in my car that was a grad student at the U, and she was working in the summer, and she was working for the state, and they were doing an analysis to try to figure out why at-risk people were not taking advantage of state and local city programs.
Yeah.
They were trying to figure out, and again, somebody said, I think it was Douglas Murray, he's this like intellect or whatever, and he said the United States is the only place where our impoverished homeless people are there by choice.
Yeah.
And again, people would, an SJW would jump up and hit me in the face going, how dare you? But they really are. Like, if you're homeless and let's say you have this moment of clarity and it's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
There are programs you could do. You can go to a place and go, hey, listen, can I get into some kind of housing here? I'm living in a friggin' refrigerator box, and I haven't had a shower in a month, and I'm shooting heroin. Is there anything you can do? And they will start the process. They'll get you into a shelter first, then you apply for like halfway housing or housing, and then you get that. But you have to follow through too. You have to like give up the drugs.
Yeah.
You have to go for a rehab thing. You can't just live on your own terms. It's like, I want a beautiful house, but I also want to be a fucking junkie.
Yeah.
And I want to shit my pants.
Yeah.
But can I just have the beautiful house where I can shoot up and shit my pants?
Yeah.
No, there are things that you have to do. So that's the thing. Those people that you see on the street made choices in their life that put them there and refused to do things in their life to get themselves out of there.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel bad for them. I genuinely do, because it's like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
But I feel that way about like my son.
Yeah.
When he's like my son, when he's trying to clean his room, and he's in there for hours, and then he comes out, and I go in his room, and his room is differently messy than it was before.
Yeah.
And it's because he doesn't know how to clean his room. He just moves one pile to another place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with these people. But I don't think there's any help for them because they don't want it.
They don't.
They're not asking for the help. There's plenty of help in this country. We do not let people suffer in this country. There is a program somewhere that can help them. Whether that's financed by debt financing or whatever, regardless of that, and we can bitch about that, But there is this there. They are in those tent cities because they like it.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was a janitor at a church when I was in college, and we worked Friday nights and Saturday nights to clean the church for Sunday. And so my brother and I, we always like pushed it off till the very end. So we'd go over there at like 11 o'clock at night. One night I'm putting the trash out. Oh, and our church was in Jamaica, just down the street from a place called the Lemuel Shattuck Hospital that had it was a mental hospital, and it had a shelter in it. But the thing with the shelter was, if you didn't get there by 8 o'clock, you didn't get in. They shut the doors at 8 o'clock. Yeah. So I was putting the trash out one night, and we had this little alcove that I'm walking past this alcove at a church, and it's scary as hell working at 7 o'clock at night, by the way. Yeah. And I'm past this alcove outside, and I see 3 glowing cigarettes. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Startled me. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. Sorry, man. And I started talking to these guys, and I said, what's going on? Oh, we didn't get in the shelter. I said, let me ask you something. How did this happen? I mean, the conversation led up to that. I said, how did that? Yeah. One guy said to me, he goes, hey, let me tell you something. He goes, I was a biker back in the 70s. He goes, I was a biker. I live a lot better now than I did back then. As he's
I'll talk to you later.